Can you hear me, Steve?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Let me change my background here. How's that look?
it looks fine. I just see a red thing behind you, but that's
Yeah,
okay.
it's my curtains behind me. They let you blur the background of your room if you want. So I just
Uh, it's just my kitchen.
cool.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's been a hectic week, but it's been good. How about you? How are you making out?
I'm doing okay. I did therapy today.
Right, you mentioned you had that in the afternoon, right? Or late
Yeah,
afternoon.
yeah. Well, I have some questions I wanted to ask you. Like about how you got into in music and radio.
Sure. So I guess music for me is something that I've been around since I was a little kid. My parents had lots of albums and played lots of music. And I think one of my earliest memories is actually the Steve Miller Band. There's a song called The Joker. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it or not. It's from the 70s. I can remember the album cover to this day. The performer was wearing a green mask on it, and the song The Joker was pretty popular. It still gets played on the radio from time to time, but I remember, and there's pictures of me as a little kid kind of dancing around to that song. So music for me has always been something I've been into. I played in the high school band, played the middle school band, played the trombone. So that part of music, like the classical component, was interesting. Got into rock and roll pretty much my entire life. That's still probably my favorite type of music. I like just about everything. I'm not a huge country music fan. I like a little bit of it, but I've always been more of a rock person. My favorite bands are Rush, uh, a band called Yes, a band called Triumph. So I tend to be into like classic rock or progressive rock, but I like some of the newer stuff that's out there too. Radio is a little bit different as far as how I got into that. Again, when I was a little kid, I was into ice hockey. It's still my favorite sport to play and to watch. And as a young person, my goal in life, if I couldn't be a professional hockey player, was to be a professional hockey radio announcer. There was a person named Gene Hart on the Philadelphia Flyers that I grew up listening to. We had little transistor radios, and if you held them just right, you could pick up the games. And that's what I did as a kid. And I always wanted to be kind of that voice on the radio. And then as I got a little older and listening to the rock and roll radio stations, they all had morning shows on, and those were morning shows were typically two or three people, and they told lots of jokes. They did character impressions. They interviewed famous people, and basically it just sounded like they were having a really good time. So that seemed like another thing that I would be interested in was, can I be that morning radio
Yeah,
person? And I did that for a little bit. I did that at a rock station, and it was a lot of fun. Uh, but it's one of those things that there aren't as many of those types of shows now. There's a few out there, but for the most part, most radio stations don't do nearly as much talk as they used to. So that's kind of how I got in towards radio. And then my career went all kinds of weird places with where I worked and what I did and how I ended up at the University of Delaware. So
did you like it before? Did you have it? Did you like what you were doing before?
I did. I really enjoyed. I enjoyed commercial radio, where I was, getting paid to be on the morning show. It's stressful because you've got to come up with content every day. You've got to come up with jokes, and what are you going to talk about, and what are you going to do this day, and what are you going to do that day, and then you've got to get good ratings. And if all that goes well, then it's great. But it is stressful. What happened with me was I was at a radio station where my partners left. They moved on to bigger and better things, and I was left in a situation where they brought in other people to work with that I didn't enjoy their show as much as I enjoyed when I was with the other people. So I
Yeah,
got a little bit frustrated and decided to go. And honestly, I wasn't making a lot of money at the time either. So staying at that job and trying to start a family and things like that, even getting a new car, stuff like that would have been next to impossible. So it was time for me to go. And I'm still in contact with a lot of the people that I worked with down there at that radio station. But I left radio for about 6 months to a year, and eventually I did an interview for a job, and it ended up being for a high school radio station. So ended up running one of the most powerful high school radio stations in the country, WKHS. And so I was back in radio, but I wasn't doing it on the air. I was teaching, and it was a lot of fun. And I did that for 13 years and really enjoyed it too, before making the decision to come up to Delaware, which is where I graduated from.
Did you ever do shows when I was in the studio?
At WVUD at the University of Delaware, I don't do a ton of shows. I've done an annual Christmas show dating back to 1989. So this will be the 33rd year for that. So I do that show. But really before COVID, I didn't do too many other shows. I may have filled in once or twice during the year. Since COVID, I've been doing a lot more shows on the radio station, just because there's been a need to fill some of the slots, especially in the morning show when people couldn't be in the station. So right now, maybe I'm doing one show a month, maybe two. And then if we get some more students that want to do that morning show slot, then I would probably go back to just doing the Christmas show.
I've been listening to all the on my device, and so on WVUD in the morning, I listen to it. So
yeah, we're starting to get a lot of new student DJs coming through now. They're just getting through the training. And in the morning, we added a student, Evan is his name, on Thursday mornings that I'm alternating with. But for students, it's hard to do the morning show because they have classes. So
yeah.
having Evan's great, but he can't do it every week either.
Have you worked with anybody else from Classic?
Yeah, over the years, we've had some classic folks come through. I think Ira, do you know Ira Shepherd?
No, but I've heard of her name.
So he's somebody that came through the program and actually he did the internship and then stuck around and did a series of shows on the radio for a couple of years. Somebody that's probably the best example of somebody outside of yourself that came in through Classic and really stayed with the program. We've had some other students that have come in for a semester and done the internship and maybe done a few other things. But Ira was one that stayed for a really long time. And of course, you did your show for a few years, and then even beyond leaving Delaware, you were still filling in during COVID, which was great.
Yeah, I mean, I still have the name, and I kept it. So Austin is doing his own thing, but I just kept the name because it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's a good brand. It sounds good. It looks good I like the logo, and it's something that you're identified with. So even when it's just one guy in a turntable, one guy in a microphone.
Yeah.
So,
I don't want to change it. Well, maybe one day I'll have Austin back for another episode or two.
Well, it's funny you say about not changing it. We're moving one of our late night DJs. His show is called The Late Night Grind. And he's been wanting to do a show earlier in the day, and we're moving him to Sunday afternoons. And I said something to him. I said, "Are you going to change the name of the show because you're not on late night anymore?" He's like, "No, it's still going to be The Late Night Grind because that's our brand. That's what people know." Like, okay, that's great. So yeah, if people identify with something, it's the late night grind in the afternoon now.
Yeah, that must be a popular show, though.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing it at a time when I'm actually awake.
Oh,
I don't stay up very late. This is late for me, honestly. On the East Coast, usually I'm in bed around 10 o'clock usually.
Well, I've been seeing your son. Didn't your son been doing baking or something?
Yeah, so my son is going to a college that's known for culinary, and he just got his degree for culinary. He got an associate's degree in culinary. And so as part of that, they have to go through all the different types of cooking, whether it be baking or formal dining, informal dining. So he enjoys it all. Baking is probably the thing that he enjoyed the least, not because he doesn't like it. It's not that he didn't like it. It's that baking is so much more of an exact science as far as measurements. And
a lot of,
to get the cake to be right, you have to do it a certain way. There's not as much freedom as if you're making, I don't know, a jambalaya or something. You can have a lot more freedom and creativity with it. But so he did the baking. I don't know if he'll revisit that. He knows enough to get by with it, but he really enjoys like cooking steaks and lobster, and vegetables, and different types of plate presentations, things like that. So he's not going to steal your cookie business.
Oh, no, that's fine. I mean, That it's been I haven't done it in a while, but I mean, I have two. I have to have. I bet I have two orders next week. I have to do or this week, but haven't done any recent.
It's
Um,
something that you enjoy. That's awesome that you do it. I couldn't. I'm not a. I'm a good. I'm well. I think I'm a good cook. I'm not a good baker. I don't have the patience for it. I don't have the kind of the motor skills to create things that look good. You know, cookies and cakes and things like that. I'm too much. I'm too sloppy, I think.
well, you're good at the radio though.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And that's what I'm most comfortable with. I did something the other night where I was training for a part-time position. I was actually training to be a backup announcer. And the question was, why do you want to do this? And my answer was, I'm really comfortable around a microphone. I'm not comfortable on camera. I'm not comfortable around large groups of people, but around a microphone, I'm pretty comfortable. So anything involving a microphone, I tend to gravitate towards, whether it's being on the radio, doing a music show, being on the radio, doing sports play by play, which I've done a fair amount of, doing a talk show. I've done some of that, or public address is something, when you announce things at a sporting event. And then I don't know if you know this about me, Dan. I work in a local professional wrestling company, and we do shows. Before COVID, we were doing shows like once a month, and I play a character, but my character would always have to go out into the audience with a microphone and talk. So it's really anything where I get to use my voice without people really knowing who I am or seeing me.
Yeah.
Because even with the wrestling, they see me, but I'm a character. I'm not me. So I'm just comfortable talking around a microphone.
I was listening to WVUD the other day, and they were talking. I don't know who was on because I don't recognize the names, but it was something. I think it was a sports show, but it was very interesting just hearing all the guy talking about the whole game, and it was a UD games, but it was very interesting.
So yeah, it was probably one of either our football. We're doing football and hockey right now, and they do those on the weekends. And then they have a sports talk show on Monday afternoons called the Blue Hen Sports Cage. So the it was probably football this past weekend. They had the game with Albany, and we've had a lot of people from our sports department go on and do it professionally, which is really cool. One of them just got named to the National Hockey League. He's the new play-by-play announcer for the Minnesota Wild. So there's only 32 NHL radio announcers, and he's one of them from little old WVUD. It's pretty cool.
Does he go to all the events?
He'll go to every Minnesota Wild game. Yeah, he'll travel with the team and do all the games. That's his job. He just watches hockey and talks about it.
Well, that sounds like a cool kind of gig.
That's what I wanted to do for that was my main goal when I was a kid, was to do that job. But there are so few of those jobs out there that it's just like, it's so awesome to see him reach that. It took him 16 years to do it. He was in the minor leagues for 16 years and finally got the chance. And there's other WVUD people that are attempting to do the same thing. And it's great to watch them get to that level, but it's so hard. There's so many people want those jobs.
When I was when I when I when it's kind of tough trying to get a job out here on radio because they don't have a lot. It's just harder than it's easier being on college radio than having a job in real radio because
And
it's
that's not just where you're at. That's everywhere, really. In So really, since the computers started to get really big back in the late 90s, radio stations have gotten rid of a lot of DJs and they use the computer more now. So it's harder to find, back in the day when you were somebody coming out of college and you wanted a job, you went and did an overnight show or you helped out in the promotions department, because stations were pretty much still, they had a person in the building 24 hours a day. That's not the case anymore with a lot of stations. So there's a lot fewer jobs to get if you're coming out of college, or especially full time. So there's part-time work out there. If you want to work part-time at a station, you could probably find it. But yeah, full-time work is really challenging right now.
I mean, there's a radio station that's kind of local, but it's like just very close to where I live, but it's just like a independent kind of, they have an independent radio station, but it's mostly just online,
Right.
and then you can work in the city, but it will just be just an online kind of show.
And
But
then a lot of the bigger stations, you can't get on the air. You can do work in their promotions department or sales
yeah,
department, but getting on the air is hard.
yeah, or you can do a summer job, I guess,
Yeah.
and try to get a job from that.
But
But
the other end of that is with the technology now, look at what you and I are doing. You can fire up a computer and you can be on the air with video and audio and just without
yeah,
any effort at all. Here we are. So it's harder to get a job in radio, but it's a lot easier to get your voice out there for people to see and hear.
yeah. I mean, it was very nice that you gave me the opportunity when I was there.
That's what we're there for. It's we have I mean, I know a lot of people that are watching probably don't know a lot about the radio stations. So we have two radio stations at the university, and between those two stations, we probably have over 100 students a year, if not more, coming through those two stations. So it's a lot of people getting to do something that not a lot of people get a chance to do. So it's really cool that
Yeah.
students have that opportunity, and that some people, even when they leave, still can do shows from time to time.
Well, I mean, a lot of people that were listening to my show, they were very they were very happy that they got the airplay that they needed to be getting.
Right, and you did. So not only did you do the show, but you were also interviewing and playing music from people that probably weren't getting played anywhere else, and now
Yeah,
you've got music that we're playing. So it's a good way to be able to focus on people that maybe don't get played a lot, because
yeah,
we have more freedom than a lot of the big stations. So it's a big station is probably not going to play your song or somebody else's song that didn't come from a major record company, but we're able to do that and give people exposure.
yeah. That's like I guess I mean it's nice to get the upcoming artists out because I mean they do a lot, but they don't get their most of their songs out there
Right.
that more normal radio stations would not do.
And we've always prided ourselves on helping out local musicians and promoting their shows and their events and releases and things like that. But now with the internet, we can have people that aren't even local that we can focus on if they've got music that we like.
Yeah. Well, so is there any new stuff that's going on with the radio? Yeah.
Um, Not, I mean, the biggest thing right now is that we're getting students are able to come back in and do their shows in the studio, which for the longest time they weren't because of COVID. We started to bring some of them back last year, but there weren't that many students on campus last year. This
Yeah.
year, most of the students are back on campus, so we're seeing a lot more students coming into the radio station. So it's just new to have people back in the building. We've got some new sports equipment, which is allowing us to do more games. And then we've got the new student executive board. They have ideas of new things they want to do, but it's too early in the year to know what exactly they're going to do yet. I know they've got some social events planned. They are looking to do some open mic concerts if we can pull those off safely. They've got a trip to a local orchard coming up as kind of a social thing, and really it's just we're still doing shows, and it's just more of them and more new people getting involved. I don't think we've done anything super brand new outside of that, though.
Well, I know when I was talking to one of the teachers from classics, still there is one student that was very interested in music, and I was telling them, well, I know that the radio station does sometimes events, so they should be looking into that.
Yeah,
But
we're hoping that we can do the open mic. We usually do 2 or 3 open mic nights a semester. I think we're going to be able to do it. We'll just have to make sure everybody's spaced apart a little bit
yeah,
more than we normally would. So I think they are. We had a meeting about that. Yes, today's Wednesday, so we had a meeting yesterday about that, and they are still planning to do the open mic night. They just have to figure out the date for the first one, and that
yeah.
usually gives about 10 performers a chance to come in and perform.
Well, that's nice. to
Yeah,
have.
they're fun. They're usually, we get about 100 people out to those usually, and like I say, 10 artists, all local, all students get a chance to play their music, do their poetry, mostly music, but sometimes you'll have a poet or a comedian come through.
I mean, I do remember those when I was there.
Yeah, they're fun.
Um, It
It's
was
not a big
good.
rock concert. It's just a fun event where you get exposed to a bunch of different types of songs.
There was a lot of people that when I was out there.
That's what we want. That's why we do them, to have people come by. But yeah, it's harder to plan events like that right now, but we're trying.
Well, do you have anything else you want to say?
I'm happy to be here. It's enjoyable. I'm so happy to see you doing your thing and still staying active with music and radio and now video and the baking. I think it's what do you have planned for yourself in the
Well,
future?
I mean, I'm still doing what I'm trying to do is get more. I'm looking for new artists and stuff because I haven't done really a lot of playlists in a while, but it's been tough. And also, it's kind of tough with my legs getting around, and I'm kind of dealing with that, but it's just tough. But
What
I'm
about the
doing
podcast? What have you been doing with, you've had a couple different podcast ideas. How's that been going?
good. Um, I have one. Well, I have a uncle and father one that I'm doing, and that one's doing well. Doing a lot of giveaways with that, and companies are giving me stuff to give away. So
That's
that's
awesome.
kind of cool. Um, and my sister is gonna be having another baby in the family, so we're very excited for that. Um, but I'm doing a lot of podcasts. I have the one I did before before I came out to Delaware. I still have that one. I haven't really did any recent ones with that one, but I did an interview with Mary Jennings the other night. So, and that's the one you heard when that she was on the on Dance Moms.
Right. Well, it sounds like you've got a lot of ideas that are keeping you busy with podcast. Like if you get bored with one, you can switch gears and do a different type of content on another one. That's awesome.
Yeah, just keeping myself busy.
That's what life is all about. Stay busy so you don't get bored and just try new things and keep doing stuff.
And I do like the Zoom kind of chats, and a lot of people are still having podcasts. So like people I know in Kansas City that are making like music podcasts, and I'm trying to get them involved, or just local bands coming on or whatever.
Well, it's cool because you can do it without actually having them with you. That's another one of the, there wasn't much good about COVID, but Zoom makes it possible to talk to people that maybe you wouldn't normally get a chance to, or to have them perform without being in the space with you, which is, it's neat.
Yeah, it's nice to have Zoom or something, or all
And
these
we did a
platforms.
virtual concert last year over Zoom. It was an artist named Beach Bunny. Have you heard of that artist?
No.
I think they're just starting to get popular now, but because we couldn't do a real concert at the end of the year, they Take the Mic, which is an organization on campus, partnered with WVUD, and they brought in Beach Bunny and a couple of other local bands, and actually a fair amount of people watched it. It was cool.
I do remember being a part of open one of those
Take
on,
the Mic.
yeah, for a
Yeah, they put on
while, and
the local concerts.
then I kind of stopped doing that. Then I just into radio, and then I found all this new stuff that there was more things I was more interested into.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to do another virtual concert, but it was fun to do something while we couldn't be together. But I'd like to do in person stuff, concerts as soon as we're able to again.
Yeah, those are more fun, I would think.
Yeah,
To
they're
be
they're
around.
a lot of work to put on. I think it's a good experience for the students to work on putting that type of concert together, to find the band and then promote it, and then sell tickets and run the event and go up on stage and introduce the band. I just think it's a better experience than doing it on Zoom, but it worked out. What we did last year was good. It just, it was what we could do at the time.
Before I came to Delaware, I used to book bands in Kansas City and do benefit concerts. And I did one for Save the Music Foundation with VH1. Haiti, worked with
For
people.
the earthquake.
Yeah. And some other ones, and just like random indie rock shows that I just put all these events together and did it all on my own, and then worked with Jeff Buckley, their management, for one benefit concert for him. But he was not there, but he was kind of, because he's gone. But
Right. But so you know how hard it's fun, but it's hard work, right?
yeah,
Getting that kind of concert together is hard work, but it's the payoff is good. You feel good about yourself after you do it,
yeah,
especially if people have a good time.
yeah. It was good. I mean, I missed those days, but now that today I found out that there's a local venue that I used to book shows at, it's closing down.
Oh no.
But I mean, that's
But
like,
something else will open up somewhere.
yeah, or be a restaurant or something.
Yeah, that happens here too. Places that have live music will close, and then you get sad about that. And 6 months later, somebody else will open a place, and it becomes a new music place. So places come and go. It's
Yeah,
unfortunate for the places that go, but there's always somebody else willing to try it.
yeah. I mean, it's nice that they have new places to play music at or go and see live music.
Yeah, I went to a new place. Well, it's not new. It's new to me. I had never been before. I don't know if you've ever heard of something in Delaware called the Freeman Stage, but it's an outdoor venue near the beach, and they bring in big bands there. But you sit out on the lawn in a chair, and it's under the stars, and it's beautiful. It's awesome, and I got to see Fits in the Tantrums was the band that we got to see this year. If you're familiar with them, they're pretty big. But that's the first time I've been to that type of facility, and it's right right in Delaware. It's about 90 minutes from the campus, though.
Oh, I do. Well, then when me and Austin, we went to Dewey Beach to see Mary Jennings down at a bar place. I also took my roommate Zach at the time, and we all went down there to see her live because it was a concert or something that they were
Yeah,
doing.
this place is about probably 20 minutes away from Dewey, and it's not a bar; it's an outside, like it's a big field. What they bring in a big, huge stage, and professional. It's like going to an inside concert at a big place, but outside. And they brought in a lot of big bands, like the Beach Boys played there, I think this year. They had a couple big country acts, but my wife and I had talked about seeing Fits in the Tantrums for a number of years, and they finally were in town, so we went and saw them. It was fun.
That's cool that they have something like that.
Unless it rains. If it rains, the concerts get canceled though, because there's no, like, the stage is covered, but the audience is not. So I think they do cut.
That would not be great. I mean, they all brought all those fans out, and then
And the other thing that's interesting, and I mentioned earlier, I don't like to stay up late because this Freeman concert stage is in a neighborhood. It's like at the back end of a neighborhood. So because they don't want to make noise after people are trying to go to bed, all the concerts have to end no later than 10. So I get to go home and go to bed at a decent time because the concert doesn't keep going until midnight. It's over at 10. They start right at 7:30 or 8 o'clock, and at 10 o'clock they're done.
That's nice though.
Yeah, because they're in the neighborhood. Literally, you have to drive through a neighborhood to get to this field where they're at.
Hopefully no cringy people are out there.
No, it was nice. If you ever get back to Delaware during the summer, they have they only do the concerts in the summer, I think, but they're good. They're big bands, and it's a decent price to get in.
That's nice to have something to do in the summer.
It was the first concert we had been to in 18 months. So we looked forward to it. We had a good time.
So was COVID bad around in Delaware when all this all happens?
I think it's been bad. I think it was bad everywhere. It's better now than it was, but yeah, when in March of 20 when it started, the university went from a few cases to a fair amount in such a short period of time. It was kind of scary. And then, of course, everybody in the world really had to deal with the big surges. Right now, cases went up in Delaware, not at the school, well, at the school and at the state. The state of Delaware, the cases went up in the last month. They went up a fair amount. Now they're just starting to come back down again. So we've had about 2 months of pretty high cases, but because people are vaccinated, they're not getting as bad of symptoms as they were before. And it seems like the cases are finally starting to come down. So hopefully we can get a little more normal here soon. But yeah, we're wearing masks on campus, and some businesses make you wear masks, some don't. But it seems like people, even if they're getting sick now, aren't getting as sick. So that's good.
Yeah, I noticed I've seen pictures flying around Instagram, but I did remember you were working on a building, not building, but a room. With all computers in there.
Oh, the esports arena. Is that
Yeah,
what you're talking about at Delaware? So
yeah,
yeah, that's another part of my job is we have an esports program now, which is competitive video gaming. And in the Perkins Student Center, we built a beautiful arena with lots and lots of computers and fancy lights, and that's probably what you've seen. And then it's open to the entire campus to use, but we also have 4 varsity teams that play out of their various games. I don't know if you're into games or not, but Rocket League, League of Legends, Hearthstone, and Overwatch are the games that we play at the varsity level. So yeah, we manage. That's one of the things I do is help to manage that program. I still live down in the radio station, but I'm also upstairs in
yeah.
Perkins a lot more than I used to be.
Do you like doing that?
Yeah, it's fun. It's like I say, do things that to keep your life interesting. That
Yeah,
was an opportunity that came my way that maybe I wouldn't have sought out on my own, but it was a good opportunity, and it's been enjoyable to learn about esports and to help develop that program. And I think we've got, it sounds like I'm bragging a little bit. I think we've got one of the better programs on the East Coast right now. And we're still very young. We're only in the 3rd year of our program, but the teams are doing very well. The facility is, like I say, it's really a fantastic facility, and people seem to enjoy using it. And we have other schools coming to tour it, so it's been fun. It's I'm still a radio person. That's what I
yeah.
like the most. But to be able to do other things to keep things fresh.
Did you ever play video games when you were younger?
I did. I played lots and lots of video games. In fact, my basement is I've got an arcade in my basement, old like classic video games from the 80s. So I played Atari, and I played all the games that you used to put quarters in. I didn't do a lot of games in the last, say, 10, 15 years. I don't play as much as I used to. And the games that we're playing esports with, I'm not very good at those games, but I could play Pac-Man all day or Donkey Kong and games like that, or old Atari from back when I was a kid. So yeah, I did a fair amount of gaming. What about you?
I mean, I played like Super Mario Karts. Those were
I
like I
love
guess
Mario Kart. Mario Kart's fun.
or um like old Nintendo, all those kind of
All the
or
console games.
yeah, or
Yeah,
just like
these
random new games are coming out.
and a lot of them are on computers now. So it's like I don't game on my computer. I work on my computer and listen to music. I don't do a lot of gaming on the computer, but like the Xboxes, I enjoyed those kind of games. And for me, it was Atari. For you, it was Nintendo, the Wii, the Switch, things like that. Those are fun.
Yeah,
The computers, that's what the hardcore gamers use. They love the computers because they can play games that do more on the computer. My son
yeah,
plays computer games. My daughter plays computer games, but I'm happy to put a quarter in an arcade game from back in the day.
and just go to a gaming little like what is that place in Philadelphia?
If a retrocade or Dave and Buster's, is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about? Yeah.
yeah. Those are kind of fun, just playing all those random games that they had back in the day when I was a little kid.
Yeah, I think I've got about 8 or 9 video games and a pinball machine in my basement. Over the years, I've just collected them and had help repairing them, and it's like a little museum down there. It's fun.
That's fun. I mean, I bet it's fun playing all those games if you're bored, I guess.
Yeah, it's funny. I go through phases where I won't touch them for months at a time, and then I'll be down in the basement one day, and I'll say, you know what, I want to play a game, and then I'll be playing games all weekend after that, and then I won't touch it again for like 2 more months, and then we'll go
It,
through a bunch of time where everybody wants to play games.
well, I guess it'd be fun around Christmas time when.
Yep, when the kids come home, when my son comes home from college and we're all here in the house and my daughter's not at high school, yeah, we fire the arcade games up and have fun with it. And then if we have people over the house, it's, most people don't collect arcade games, so if they come over, it's neat for them to be able to play.
It's kind of nice though, having a
Yeah.
lot of people over
Again,
playing
keep
all the
from
games.
keep from getting
Keep
bored, do interesting things.
yeah. Well, I'll let you go. I
What?
just wanted to chat and see what was going on. And thanks for coming on my podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm honored. This was fun. Anytime.
Thank you so much. And I'll let you know when it's up.
Okay. Sounds good, Dan. Thanks for having me.
You too. Talk to you later.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.